All right. So we are talking about chapter 4, and we are rocking and rolling with hormones. We finished last class talking about the Fab 5. Remind me what the Fab 5 are. Number 1.
Large muscle groups.
2.
Heavy resistance.
3.
Moderate to high volume.
4.
Short rest intervals.
5. 2 years of experience. Hey, I forgot to ask you, what is today?
Best day ever.
Why are we here?
To get the tools to build fearless champions.
Very nice. So as we're building these fearless champions, we're digging in, we're talking about the endocrine system. And one of the things we need to flip back in our book to page 74. And when you look in our book on page 74, we talk about why the endocrine system is so stinking tricky to measure. And when we see in these cool bullets right here, we actually see that this is why, this is different examples of how hormones can either bless or cause distress in the body. And at any given time, those things are always changing. Now, what would be cool for me is if I had the opportunity to come in here to you today and do an exact blood draw on everyone, looking for every one of your different hormones. And then we came back on Thursday and did the exact same draw. Would those numbers be the same?
No.
No. That's why hormones are so tricky. They're depending on what we've eaten, how we slept, all of these different things that are going on within our body. So many of those bullets talk about how hormones are synthesized and stored, how much hormone degrades over a period of time, how much blood tissue fluid, whenever you respond to exercise, how that changes, how the receptors are within the muscle. So when we go like this, what do you say? Receptors. Remind me of that theory that happens when the receptors are hungry and they want to downregulate hormone. What is it?
Lock and key.
Lock and key. So every single
Receptor.
has hormones that it likes to plug into. Are there some receptors that like multiple hormones plugged into them?
Yes.
Yes. So some hormones are dependent on other hormones without a doubt. So as we start to jump into our primary anabolic hormones, you already know these because we've talked about them. What is the first one?
Testosterone.
Testosterone, followed by
Growth hormone.
growth hormone, followed by
Insulin-like growth factor.
IGF, followed by
Insulin.
So let's talk about testosterone first. Testosterone is actually what we call the hormone of youth. You have higher testosterone levels between the age of 18 and about 30, guys. Those are your highest levels. What tends to be kind of interesting with females is females start to observe higher testosterone levels, more so 25, 45. That's whenever females' testosterone levels tend to be a little bit higher. But the reason that testosterone is so important, and you'll see on page 74 in this right-hand column, you guys, testosterone is the primary, what kind of word is primary?
That's a very important
It's a
word.
pretty bold word. It is the primary androgen that interacts with skeletal muscle. Skeletal muscle, testosterone. That's the one that clicks in. Now, there's dihydrotestosterone, and that's the one that's linked to maleness and femaleness. So those are the sex-related. It's a little bit different thing there. Here's what we know. Increased testosterone concentrations does provide an indirect marker of motor activation. Here's what we know. Once the body has been signaled when you go through puberty to release that testosterone so that you continue to grow, we actually see these changes happening in the nervous system, directly and indirectly. Remember, remind me, what's that outer casing of each neuron called? The myelin sheath. As we go through neural maturation, it's that testosterone that actually allows that complete myelination, which means the circuit can actually be completed. So remind me, if I all of a sudden have a neuron coming from right here, and I have a muscle coming right here, what is this space called?
Neuromuscular
The
junction.
neuromuscular junction. So once we end up going through puberty, we actually see that space closing up a little bit more, which means we can make the movement happen more efficiently and more effectively. And we also do that with training programs, because we see that the more your body will respond to
Whatever you
ask it to. Okay, here's what we know. Go down here. Changes in testosterone concentration are a dramatic anabolic signal for target tissues throughout the body. Whenever you are exposed to testosterone, you are going to anabolically see those changes. Okay, go down there. Testosterone has both direct and indirect effects on muscle tissue. It can promote growth hormone release from the pituitary. Friends, remember when I told you about this chain like dominoes? Here's when we find that once testosterone has been signaled in the body, it actually says, hey, pituitary gland, crank out some growth hormone. So we see that testosterone is what starts that anabolic chain into motion. You guys, it appears to then introduce protein synthesis. Hey, what is protein synthesis?
Creation of new protein.
Creating new protein or what?
Receptors.
Receptors and muscle. So protein synthesis is another word for muscle building. Protein synthesis equals?
Muscle building.
Protein synthesis equals?
Muscle building.
Muscle building. Awesome. So here's what we know. The effects of testosterone on the development of strength and muscle size are also related to the influence of testosterone on the nervous system. That's that last paragraph, that last sentence on the right-hand side. You guys, do you remember on the test when we talked on game day, when we talked about of all the different energy systems or all the different body systems, not energy systems, which one responds to change first? The nervous system. So this is when we see the nervous system having this profound change as it's exposed to testosterone. Very good. All right, so here's what we also know. So you want the good, the bad, and the ugly. What do you want? The good?
Yes.
The good. Testosterone is good. But let's talk about anabolism and let's talk about catabolism. Remind me what catabolism is.
Breakdown.
The breakdown. Here's what we know, and it starts to talk about this more in this part of the chapter. I'm down here where it says 31, and this is going to be shocking to you all because you all know what my passion is. All right, high intensity aerobic training. So am I on the right side of the line or the left side of the line? Left side. Okay, so we're talking aerobic, we're talking endurance, we're talking all of these things. High intensity aerobic endurance exercise can cause a dramatic catabolic tissue response. And increases in testosterone may be related to the need for protein synthesis to keep up with protein loss. So here's what we know. Long-term aerobic activity has a catabolic effect on your body. When you are going and 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 going. Okay, your body says, oh my gosh, when is she gonna stop? But you keep going. So here's the thing, your body starts to degrade or have that catabolic effect. In an effort for your body to save itself, it really does kind of turn on your testosterone levels just a bit in an effort to save the ship. It will say, oh my gosh, I'm having so much muscle breakdown or protein degradation that we really need to put the brakes on, crank up the anabolic again, and react and recover. You gonna pause?